So now I've got to choose my colour, and so I know what colour I want the frame to be. I've known that for a very long time, but I've just decided instead of making the hubs black, I'm probably going to make them like a really dark gunmetal-y, silvery grey. I don't know how to explain it, but I guess you'll see. Hopefully it comes out on this as nice as it does in real life. That's exciting. So basically I bought my first Chelly in 2016. I found one on Facebook Marketplace and paid about $650 for it. I almost didn't buy it because I was selling a bike to get it, and that bike was in the back of a car which got hit and written off, so that scooter also got ruined, and I couldn't sell that. But then a couple of good friends of mine, foamers for life, they jumped in and they spotted me the money until I could pay them back a couple of weeks later. And I got my first Chelly, and I rode it and had fun on it, put a 125 in it, did a few 600-700k trips in it, on it. Why am I going to all this effort to repaint this bike ridiculously? There's a couple of reasons really. One of them is that on the most recent trip I went over to Southeast Asia and bought a Honda Wave 100. While I was over there I bought a big bore kit for it. I bought not enough parts really, because I got home and we ripped the engine apart and went through to rebuild it, and basically the new barrel didn't have enough stroke and it was just a horrible mess, so I've had to do a whole bunch of stuff to fix it up. Had to get a race head, race cam, new crank. So just doing a big bore kit, top end kit, turned into a complete engine rebuild. And then the crank timing sprocket was 14 tooth and I needed a 16 tooth one, and I couldn't find one anywhere for the correct diameter of my crank, and it took a really long time to try to find one. I went through 5 countries, tried to find one here in New Zealand, Thailand, tried to find one in Malaysia, tried to find one in the Philippines, couldn't find one there, so I eventually found one in Vietnam, thanks to a good friend of mine, Jeremy, who works at Belay Taylor in Hoi An, or rather runs the place. That's it. I'm going to paint it that, not mixed, just like that. Perfect. I like how it's a bit more bluey green than just green. Blue's always been my favourite colour.
Yeah.
And every time I tell people, it's like, oh, it's kind of like a snifter green, but not really, because when I see it, I don't like the snifter green, I change it. And it's really hard to explain to people what kind of colour it is.
It might dry different.
Yeah, for sure. This is getting really, really exciting. So getting everything masked up and ready. We're doing a 2K paint, which means we don't actually need to do a clear coat. And so they do like a half coat and then a full coat of the 2K, and it's absolutely incredible. I'm learning so much about paint today that I did not know. here we are, 2, 3, maybe even 4 weeks later. Nah, about 3 weeks since I had this thing painted with matte, and got some good progress going, but have run into a little bit of an issue, which I'll show you through now. I've got a solution, but it means I'm gonna have to change up the plan a bit. So have a look and I'll show you what I mean. Here we have it. It's in the frame. The engine's in the frame, sorry. The front wheel is okay, it's fitting, but you'll notice here there's some fresh grind marks. Basically what happened is this has a drum brake on the rear, and to stop the hub turning, and excuse this is not a final product, this is just something that's held on there to see if it works. To stop this thing from spinning when you're riding, it needs to be attached to the swing arm. The bolt or the mount that came out of here for it to attach was actually far too long and was fouling on the rim. I've had to get this cut out, re-welded with a thread that goes all the way to the base where the swing arm is, as it was had a bit of a lip coming out here initially, and the thread started about where the nut is ending at the moment. So yeah, it wasn't ideal, but that's been sorted. Now I've run into another issue though, where this tyre, which is a 120/90/10, so that's 120mm wide around about. 90 means the height is 90% of the width, so that's 90mm, something like that, and 10 inches the diameter of the wheel. This is a 6.1 inch rim. What I'm finding here is that the chain itself at the moment is really loose. Excuse that, that's just my brake pedal holder. To get this perfectly adjusted, I either need an extra link in the chain, and then when I put an extra link in the chain, I can't bring it back enough to actually adjust properly, really. This either gets too tight and things don't clear, and what I'm stuck with is this tyre here. The tyre is actually failing to clear. Now this was originally designed for a low profile tyre, so this here is a 120/70/10, so that's 120 wide around about. 70 means the height is about 70% of the width, and then it's a 10 inch diameter. And if you look at this side by side, you can see there's quite a big difference. So that's the issue I've run into at the moment, but what I've discovered is I can get a 110 wide with about 80 high, so that'll be 110mm wide, 80% of the 110mm is the height. Hopefully that will give us enough room up here so that I can adjust this perfectly. So the tank sits here, and the electronics are under there. So the tank's here. Here's the crude, rudimentary, not mounted properly, cable tie tested, CDI and regulator rectifier, and they sit down in the bottom of the frame. Once they're in the bottom of the frame and the tank's in, I'll see if I can throw some light on the situation. It's quite hard to see, but the fuel tap from the tank is touching those electrical components. Yeah, I'm going to wire that up. I've got my headlight bucket to go on. I may have to drop the size of the front tyre down. At the moment we've got a 4x10. That's Imperial, 4 inches wide. I'm not sure exactly what they are classed as height wise, but it just is what it is. Once that's done, I'll match the rear and the front as far as tread pattern goes probably. Yeah, we'll be good to go. There'll be a few little bits of electric componentry in here. So yeah, that's where we stand at the moment. It's been a long process, but I'm getting there. Next update you see will be this thing rolling and riding. I have had this motor running in another frame. It goes really, really well. I was measuring it up yesterday, and my old valves here, so they are 20 and 23 mil. My new valves are 24 and 28. So my inlet and exhaust valves are increased dramatically as far as size go, and the engine's been ported quite a lot to match. So it'll be really interesting to see what the standard Honda motor does. Yeah, I'm really excited to basically bring you guys along the journey, and hopefully it's awesome as I make it out to be.